Hey, I'm here with Alok with Loki Group. Thank you so much for joining me today. So tell me a little bit about what you do and for how long you've been doing it.
Sure. So, well, myself, over 22 years of business professional experience doing strategy and M&A globally. I spent 5 years overseas in 15 countries doing cross-border deals, international transactions. I started Loki Group 5 years ago, and that's after I was leading the separation of eBay, PayPal, and with their executive leadership team. I gained 60 pounds in the first 2 months of the project, and I realized that I love what I do, but I want to do it differently. And I had a passion on doing it for the small, mid-sized companies. And so that's when I started Loki Group. So we are a strategy, M&A transactions, divestiture, transformation, and a corporate development as a service consulting advisory firm for small mid-market companies.
Awesome. Awesome. And you touched on it right there, but just to expand upon it a little bit. So who exactly is the target market, small to mid-size? Quantify that a little bit for us.
Yep. So let's put quantity too. And I'd say our typical clients are usually, I'd say, minimum $25 million in revenue. Mm-hmm. And my largest client right now is $1.3 billion in revenue, publicly traded. So publicly traded, private owned, family owned, or private equity owned. And those are the clients that we come in for to help them assess and figure out where the next steps are. Now, I have some clients I also advise that are pre-revenue or less than $25 million in revenue. That's more of a kind of like hey, you have some questions for me, I'm happy to answer for them. And if there's an opportunity, then maybe I can help you along your path to grow. And maybe at some future point, if you need my services, then we can work something out.
Yeah, perfect. So where do you want to take Loki Group long term?
Long term, I want to grow Loki Group to be more of a holistic professional service provider to small mid-cap businesses. One of the key areas I really want to grow is on the IT managed service provider space, so IT MSPs, where by doing that, we can bring a more holistic solution to our clients. So not, a lot of small mid-sized companies have multiple vendors for their IT. Let's try to bring that into one home, right? So you don't need a separate cybersecurity or network security or IT service ticket provider for each one of those. You can try to get that under one house. And so by doing that and partnering it with the strategy and M&A components, we will know our clients very well. We are going to be a partner with them, and that's our goal. Our goal is to be a partner with our clients and to be an extension of them to help them continue to grow and help them achieve more as they want to do so.
Yeah, awesome. So I could really see bringing that all under a single roof would improve communication and just streamline the whole process versus trying to have, a multitude of vendors trying to communicate with one another, and maybe everything gets passed along, maybe it doesn't.
You're exactly right. And I mean, part of what ends up happening is you have a lot of finger pointing, right? Like, oh, that's not us, that's on their side. Oh, no, it's not our side, it's their side. Mm-hmm. And, let's just cut the crap and come down to, brass tacks and like, hey, the buck stops here. We're one-stop shop. We got it for you. We'll figure it out. All right. Now, if there are other vendors involved, if we're using Microsoft or supporting Microsoft, if it's a Microsoft issue, we'll have to work with them, of course. But again, the idea is minimize the pointing of the fingers, centralizing and providing a holistic solution, and making it simpler for our clients to know who they need to reach out to. Part of the other challenge, if you have multiple vendors, is, well, who do I call? Right. Because I don't have one phone number. Do I have to call 3 different people to figure out who's the one to solve it? Or is it very easy and I just have one person to call? And that's what we want it to be. One stop shop.
Yep. Awesome. Awesome. So you've been in the business for a little while now, seen a lot of different businesses along the way. What is one mistake you've learned or a lesson that any other business owner could learn from, irregardless of their industry?
The biggest lesson, and this is probably the one I support the most, and I always bring up in a lot of conversations, is there's one resource that we can never get more of. It's the always fleeting resource that never can get restarted, and that is time, right? People who try to say money and other stuff, like, no, you can always find more money. There's other money out there. You find another investor, whatever it may be. But time, a minute lost, an hour lost, you can't get that hour back. It's always fleeting. And so the key is to make sure that each hour, each minute, each second that we're using it towards progressing, right? Whatever that may be. It doesn't necessarily have to mean I'm nose to the grindstone, I'm always working, but whatever you're doing, you're using it to the fullest. I need to take a break, take that break, and understand that you're taking that break, and work will happen later. But and part of the way I realized this is there's back when I started Loki Group, I was just kind of running all over the place. And I spent a lot of time on advising and looking at deals that are probably weren't worth my effort, right? And so hence I was like, hey, I need to be smarter about how I use my time. I want to be better about how I use my time. And so I need to have a process in place that allows me to assess where I need to spend my time and where I don't. And that also then lets me know that, hey, what do I need to get to the curb? What do I need to delegate to somebody else? And what do I need to own myself?
Perfect. Perfect. So you've had a ton of different experience, worked with a lot of people around the world. Has there been a great coach or mentor that stands out in your mind, and why?
Mm. So I think I've had a number of great mentors throughout my career. The one that's most recent in my mind right now is I was doing some work for him. He owns a boutique executive search firm. His name is Joel Koblenz, and just a very methodical, smart individual who great at reading people and great at leading, where he knows how to manage a board. He knows how to address, family owners of companies and multi-generational owners of companies to manage the dynamics that are in place to help them come to a successful and fruitful resolution at the end.
Great, great. So as you grow Loki Group, what does the future look like? Are there any challenges you foresee as you move forward?
The biggest change I'm looking at, as kind of mentioned before, is the IT MSP space, like really bringing that under the umbrella of Loki Group and growing that and merging that in. And that's going to be the biggest thing is, how quickly and how fast I want to grow that. Because a lot of different hurdles in the way, right? One, finding the right organizations that will culturally and capability wise come together and make sense. How quickly then, and again, not everything I've thought through, but how quickly then do I want to merge them under the same brand, or do we keep them as separate brands? How fast do I want to grow? How big are these targets going to be? And then, well, based on how fast I want to grow, how much cash do I need to bring to the table, and do I need to find, right? Do I need to develop this cash? Can I leverage the cash within these targets to grow? This is probably the biggest challenge, is really looking at and finding one, the first platform I want to acquire, because that's going to be the building block for everything else. And then two, the culture that we want to establish, and the other capabilities that we want to bring under house to make it a holistic solution for our clients.
Yep. Awesome. So what would you recommend to a young person that is starting their first business in today's world?
And they're starting a business from scratch, or?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So, and the reason I ask that question is because I think, and I give a huge kudos to people who can start a business from scratch. I personally, as we can probably tell from from part of this interview, is I'm a huge supporter of what I call entrepreneurial private equity. Or entrepreneurial private ownership. So someone becoming an entrepreneur through acquiring or buying another business that's already in existence. And that's kind of where a lot of my advisory work on smaller companies comes with it. People who are looking to buy a new company and figure out how to do that, or looking how to grow that, then helping them out that way. But a young individual starting their own business, it's going to be, one, figure out what's your most viable product that you're creating and what is the market you're trying to address. Two, how are you going to get to them? And then three, how are you going to fund it? Right. And with that, I'd also say that don't look to make any real income back in your pocket for at least 3 years, because anytime you start anything new, human psychology, at least, and I've witnessed this myself, it's about a 3-year cycle for people to truly take you seriously. Unless you have something truly phenomenal, right, that's groundbreaking, disruptive, it takes about 3 years for people to, for that ground to be broken. Where people are like, oh, I just met you. Well, I just met you today. I'm not going to trust you yet, but it's cool to see you here. Let's see if you stick around and if you're really eager about making this successful. And then year 2 comes around and like, oh, okay, you're still here. So you're really at it and you really try to make this work. Okay, good luck to you. And then year 3 comes around, I'm like, oh, so you're serious and you've got someone who trusted you and someone else bought from you. Okay, great. I'll now buy from you as well. Right. And so and that cycle is that first year, you got to push the ground. So you got to create that brand for yourself. The second year, you've created a brand, you created a foundation. You've got to find the quote unquote, the angels that want to take that first step with you give you that first opportunity. And then once you get that first opportunity, that's when the waves start to roll in and things start to happen, because after someone else already give you a break, now that's already been tested, more people are willing to do it. And it's knowing that you got to expect a 3-year cycle. So plan for a 3-year cycle, and don't be discouraged if things don't turn up in the first year.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes that time to really prove yourself and prove yourself to the market to where people are comfortable, buying from you.
Yep. Agreed.
Perfect. So how can people find out more about you or more about Loki Group? What's the best way to get in touch?
Yep. So our website is loki.group. So loki.group. It's an interesting domain name, right? Don't see a lot of .groups. My email is on there. You can reach out to me through the website, and that's I guess, a first step. And then just reach out to me, and I'm happy to have conversations. I love brainstorming. If you have a problem, if you have a question, please send me your questions, and maybe that could help me start my video blog that I'm trying to do for LinkedIn and other things. So I'd appreciate that.
Perfect. Perfect. Maybe this is what jumpstarts it off right here.
That would be exciting. I'll let you know about that, Nate, too.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So my last question for you is, what most inspires you as you move forward in the business today?
Honestly, what most inspires me is my family, right? It's really trying to create something for them, create a good life for them. And honestly, hopefully, if they want to, provide a legacy for them to, come in and learn from, or do something new, whatever they want to do, I want to support. But they are my inspiration that push me to push myself.
Awesome. Awesome. Look, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your story and about Loki Group. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.